we'll start to cultivate our more relaxed breath. You can bring your left hand to rest on your chest, right hand under the belly. And they're just physical cues to help you feel the energy as it moves through the body. As you inhale, you may feel the chest lift, rib cage expand, collarbones lifting, energizing upwards at the top of the inhale. A brief pause before we start the slow exhale through the nose. And as you feel the energy leaving the body, compress the belly towards the spine, even that belly hand gently pressing inward to help remind you of all the air and the energy leaving the body. We'll go ahead and bring the sound of the ocean to the back of the throat. Expand space inside the mouth. Maybe deeply sighing on both the inhales as well as the exhales. You may hear something akin to an ocean wave. And as we're more connected to our relaxed breath, you can go ahead and continue developing the practice as we warm up, bringing our attention to our mountain pose. Inhaling, drawing that energy from the mat through the body, up through the crown of the head. And on the exhale, feeling the energy returning, feeling more rooted through the feet at the bottom of the exhale. Let's go ahead and start to move the center of gravity at the soles of the feet with the next inhale to that tipping point at the toes. And then as we start the next breath, rolling the gravity towards the back, the center of gravity. How we find that tipping point once more. So just giving yourself that forward to back muscle memory before we meet somewhere at center, top of the ankles, nearer to the heels. So resetting our mountain, let's go ahead and inhale once more. And we're just going to roll the weight towards the outer edges of the right side of your feet. Inhaling all the way back up to center or all the way to the other edge, to the other side. So incorporating a 2-part breath or a 3-part breath. Inhaling to the center, exhaling to either side for the 3-part breath, or just rocking like a metronome from side to side. And then we'll meet at center once more in our mountain, dropping back in. Inhaling tall once more, feel that energy upward through the crown of the head as we start rolling circles in one direction. Making the circles radiate outward towards the ankles, towards the edges of the feet, till the perimeter of the feet are identified. And then we can start to tighten in the circles and meet at the center like water going down the drain. Dipping back into our mountain, let's inhale, reset. And now it's small circles in the opposite direction. Just noting any differences, seeing if you can get smooth circles until we find our edge. And then return to center. And we've been here for a little bit, so go ahead and lift the toes, lift the heels, especially if you have a tendency to grip the mat. Give yourself any movement needed, and we'll move towards our modified Sun Salutations, beginning with our folds. With the first fold, downward, we're moving our fingers, energizing, and then elevating the arms with the inhale. And maybe at the top of the inhale, we may even lift with the torso towards the ceiling. Then exhale. Tighten the core, engage the core, and float down to your first fold. Walking the hands downward. If your back needs that extra little bit of support, or just float on down. With our first fold, it's a rag doll. And that just means we're staying here for a little bit longer than our usual fold. About 5 total breath cycles here. You can work it out
by simply bending one knee and bending the other. If you have tight legs, that's especially helpful, little bits at a time. Notice if you're holding on to the head. Essentially, you're finding that center from the hips down to the heels and releasing anything else that perhaps isn't necessary to holding your first ragdoll. Go ahead and give yourself one more deep inhale and exhale, incorporating the relaxed Ujjayi breath. See if on this very last exhale, you can just completely release. See if the crown of the head can release towards the floor. And then with the next inhale, we're going to slowly engage the core. Press into the feet, firm up the thighs, engage the belly. Slowly roll up, one vertebra at a time. As we come out of our first lengthy hold, folded forward, we just want to be careful coming all the way back up slowly, letting the blood rush back to the head, palms facing forward, and the breath returning to its natural state. Okay? And then we can reach down one more time, another fold, this time a little shorter. Inhaling, arms go up. Reach up at the top of the inhale. Exhale, hinge at the hips and float towards our second fold. A little shorter this time, only 3 full breath cycles. See if you can sway the hips, lift the toes, lift the heels, find that center of gravity more clearly defined in the second fold, and then see if you can release from the tailbone down to the crown of the head while we're still supported from the hips down to the heels. One more deep inhale, one more deep exhale, release. And then we're going to come out. Your choice of either a slow roll up or a strong inhale with a straight back all the way up. Roll energized and get the core engaged in either case, and then do your thing with the next inhale. All the way back up to mountain. Hands meet and come down, heart center. And we'll start our walking meditation. Inhaling, pressing into the left foot, left side of the body. Let's lift the right foot. And exhale, put the right foot down. Heel, ball of foot, toes by the end of the exhale. Pressing into the palms if you need extra balance. Exhaling the other leg down. Inhaling, right foot up. Exhaling that down. And meeting at the top of the mat. And looking down at the fingertips, let's go ahead. Press into the hands. Watch the fingertips rise. And then hands separate. Exhale, hinge at the hips for our third fold. Fully exhaled here, we're going to inhale for a half lift. Long back. Spin out the sits bones towards the back of the mat. See if you can have longer legs, long back, looking down at the mat, down at the floor. And then exhale, release to the fold. Plant the hands at either side of the feet. Step a right foot back and then a left foot back. Inhale, shoulders over the wrists, and then bring the knees down. We're going to modify our first plank, high plank, in a modified form with the knees down, shins down, tops of the feet down. We're feeling energized from the shoulders all the way down to the wrists. If you find your shoulders are a little past that point of your wrists, you can always inch back. But definitely lift up on the knees so you don't rub your kneecaps. And then give yourself one more deep inhale here, engaging the core, belly button to the spine here. Let's tuck the toes, lift the hips, and exhale. Push the hips back, bring the body back into your down dog. The first down dog is lengthy, just like our rag doll. We're taking 5 full breath cycles here. See if you can walk your dog. Bending one knee deeply. You can hold each bend here. And switch out the legs, alternate to the other knee bending. And your heel may not come down to the floor, that's okay. Just see where you are today at this moment. We're feeling strong from the tailbone down to the hands, as well as the tailbone down to the legs. Feeling that energy of the upside down V, the movement upwards at the belly, at the hips. So with the next inhale, let's go ahead and roll our eyes to the hands and walk the hands to the feet, hopefully to the back of the mat, to our fold. Fully exhale here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold.
Inhale, extend the arms, and come on up with a strong back. Exhaling hands down heart center. And our second walking meditation. Inhaling right foot up. Exhaling right foot down. Inhaling left foot up. Exhaling left foot down. Inhale right foot up. Exhale it down. We'll make our way to the top of the mat. Looking down at the fingertips. Inhale, press into the palms. Extend arms up. Separate at the top and hinge with the exhale for a fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Step long right leg, left leg into your high plank this time. Feeling strong in the shoulders. Fingers splayed to help distribute the weight. And feeling that energy from the heels all the way through the crown of the head. Feel those shoulder blades protracting away from the spine as you're pressing down into the hands, feeling strong. And then we'll lift up the hips with the next inhale. Exhale, press into those arms, bring the hips back, heels downward. Second down dog of your practice, and walk it out. 3 breath cycles here. Give yourself the movement that feels good to you. Feel the energy lines from those 3 points we usually talk about. Give the breath good deep thoughts here, good deep breaths, and help facilitate the release with each Ujjayi breath. Okay, with your next inhale, let's go ahead and roll the eyes to the hands and walk the hands to the back of the mat. Fully exhaled into our fold. We can inhale for a half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, extend the arms, come on up. Exhaling hands down heart center. And finally, hands down to the side. Give yourself a moment or two. You may feel warm. I know I do. And my audio seems to be skipping out on me just a little bit. But hopefully you're not hearing that on your end. Here's a little water break. It's a great time. Moving down to the practice. Alrighty, and coming here, we're going to have one standing exercise just to give us a little bit of balance, a focus, an exercise to develop focus and balance while standing. And standing in our mountain, just give yourself a moment to sort of feel the mat under the feet, feel the length of the legs, the knees. As we've gone through our warm-up and our modified Sun Salutations, your body should be really warmed up. So see if you can lengthen through the mountain, lifting all the way upwards. Feet are hips distance apart. And with that gentle tuck of the tailbone under, we're gently pressing our hips forward, feeling nice and tall in the spine. And again, that energy from the heels all the way up the center of gravity, up through the crown of the head. Imagine everything just lifting upwards. Now with the next deep inhale, let's bring the palms out to the sides. Hands overhead, we'll extend the arms above our head. Inhaling here, see if you can bring the palms together. Exhale, engage the core, press gently down, bring the hands down, heart center. Release down to the side. One more deep inhale, we're bringing the hands out to the side and up above the head. Keep the hands there. Interlace the fingers, let the index fingers and the thumbs release. And with big pointer fingers, we're just lifting upwards. Feel this lifting at the fingers, a lifting of the energy, all the muscles upwards, and then release. Exhale, let the arms float back down. Let the knees bend softly, give yourself a nice gentle bounce, and just gently sway the shoulders. Allow everything at the tops of the shoulders to release. Having the hands nice and relaxed like wet noodles, it'll help to just lengthen all the muscles, the tops of the shoulders. And then we'll energize once more, returning to our mountain. One more Hastasana with our hands above our head. One more deep inhale, energize upwards in our mountain, engage the core, feel the shoulders nice and even. And then inhaling, arms above the head. We're interlacing the fingers, releasing the index and the thumb, and pointing upwards, releasing upwards. Feeling as if someone is taking the fingers and just pulling us upwards. And as we do that, engage the core slightly and hopefully feeling a little bit of lifting here. Pressing down at the base of the big toe. See if your feet start to roll outward. And then exhale, hands release. You can hands down, heart center, and down to the side. And just a little more relaxed in our mountain, a gentle bend to the knees. And believe it or not, that's just one thing, to be able to be in this upright vertical positioning without pitching forward or pitching back too much. We're just simply moving the energy upwards, aligning everything and feeling how that feels. And just helping the body to do that, working against gravity, it will actually help us to develop better balance, better focus, and bone density eventually. So let's go ahead and move all the way down to the mat. We're moving on down to hero. Now, if you have issues with knees, being down at the mat, bring a blanket, fold it, have some sort of cushion if you're on a hard floor like the floor I'm on. If you would like blocks to help you meet the distance, sometimes having a hero pose, having the hips meet the heels is an issue. So as we're meeting down on our shins, we can bring a block to help us meet that distance. If your knees are achy, you can fold a blanket just like the one we're kneeling on and put it right behind the knees. Sometimes it's just that might help with any achiness in the knees and in the hips. And as we're sitting in our hero pose with the tops of the feet on the mat, just give yourself a moment or two to just feel this position. Are the sits bones evenly distributing weight, supporting you on the heels or on your block between you and your heels? If you feel that that's good for you, then you can bring your hands wherever they are. You may be pitched forward a great deal. As your hands are here on the floor, you can control more of the weight of your body on the heels. And as we're going through our free breath cycle to find that sweet spot, you may find yourself with your hands still on the floor or carefully walking the torso upward. Eventually, we're hoping to have this 90-degree angle at the hips, making sure that our spine is as long as we can. And hopefully, if it's pitched forward, we're moving it into alignment with each successive breath. Keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed. Lots of space between the ears and the shoulders. Moving the shoulder blades down the back. Just melting down the back. Now let's go ahead and bring the hands back to the mat. And also, you are always welcome to come out. If these holds are a little too much for you, you can always come up, meet in an easier position for yourself, whether that's in a seated position or just an easier version of whatever we're going through. The next pose we're moving into is our child's pose. So it's just like hero. We're going to bring our hips down to their heels once more, but we're going to bring some space between the knees. So once you've found that comfortable spot, and if you're familiar with child's pose and you have a really special way of getting into it, please feel free. You can have a super wide one if you like. Sometimes touching the toes is something people like to do, closing that loop, that energy loop. Sometimes it's just fine to have the feet straight out back behind you. But once you've made the foundation, then you can go ahead and start folding at the hips. Not at the shoulders, but at the hips until you stop. Maybe you've stopped here. If you have a block on a high setting that can help support the upper body, you might just need the hands to help you. You're just keeping the upper body relaxed, sort of like in a forward fold, where you can eventually just start to fold and relax and have the hip opening, the quads, the fronts of the legs, the opening at the tops of the ankles, all of these deep stretches in our child's pose that you may need to find your version of it. So you may want to, Once you've found that sweet spot, hinging at the hips, folding forward, then you can relax the shoulders, the neck. You may need to find support. At the forehead with blocks. Maybe it's a different set of blocks. But as you find your final resting spot, that's a little too deep for me, then hopefully you can just relax. You can relax the shoulders, any muscles not needed for the general form. And breathing 5 to 10 breaths here in our child's pose. As you approach your very last breath cycle, prepare to come out by simply bringing the hands to the floor, pressing into the hands so you can lift the head off of any props, setting them off to the side. We're going to stay nice and long here. Imagine from the tailbone lengthening through the spine, crown of the head. Inhaling long so that at the top of the inhale, you're longest at your length in the torso. And then just moving while you're still energized nice and long in the torso, keeping the left hip glued to that anchor point on the left side. We're just shifting the torso over and then exhaling to fold here. You'll have a nice deep stretch to the left side as we're stretching our child's pose to the right side. And give yourself 3 to 5 breath cycles here. See if you can relax the upper shoulders, the head, the neck by that very last exhale. And when you're ready to come out, once more, we place the hands to help us support the upper body as we bring it up. And as it's still nice and long, energized with an inhale, we can exhale all the way to the other side, still energized, nice and long. And then we just fold completely by the end of that exhale. And once we found that edge, we can set up the upper body, relaxing the upper neck, the upper shoulders, supporting what we need on this side. Keeping the right hip glued to that right area. And one side is usually different from the other. So notice any differences. Just breathe. Reconnecting to the Ujjayi breath to help facilitate the release. And after that very last breath cycle, once more, bring the hands down to the floor for support so you can lift the head, energizing, inhaling tall, so you can exhale back to center. And we're going to just lean back a little bit to help bring the knees back together. Removing any of our props. We can go ahead and walk our hands forward and hopefully getting onto our belly with any extra mat support like a blanket to help at the belly if you like. And we'll be coming into our Sphinx pose next, but it feels so nice to be supported on the floor. Give yourself a face turn on one side and a face turn on the other to just feel good and supported without having to flex these hips. We've been flexing for a while as we're opening the hips in our seated hero and child's pose. So just keeping it, bringing it back, returning it to an open position, like in standing, and just slight extension at the tops of the ankle.
And again, if you're turning your face to one side, press into the chest deeply with the next inhale, and then just slightly lift to turn the head to the other side. Give yourself a couple of breaths here as well. And balancing that out. The next thing will be simply bringing the elbows underneath the shoulders. So as we return the body to center, we're bringing the elbows inward, underneath the shoulders. And we'll think about our Sphinx in terms of the lower body versus the top. The lower body being an anchor point, we just want to lengthen through the legs. Legs can be together, they can be zipped up, they can be separate and directly under the hips. They can be pointed towards the corners of the mat, slightly abducted from the midline. So see which position feels good to the hips in relationship to our Sphinx position here. And then we'll go ahead and relax. Let every muscle that's active in the lower body just act like an anchor and support you. With the next inhale, we're going to gently start pressing into the forearms, palms, and just slide the torso forward. At the top of the inhale, you may slightly lift the gaze, resting it somewhere in between the fingertips, at level in between the hands, and keeping the shoulders separated. Energize slightly away from the spine, away from each other. Shoulder blades melting down into the mid-back. Take the next 5 to 10 breath cycles. Slow, deep, ocean-like breaths. See if the only movement can be the skin lifting at the top of the belly. As you approach your last few breaths, imagine coming out after your very last exhale. We're going to inhale, slightly energizing the torso, long. And then exhale, lower the torso, one vertebra at a time as the elbows move off to the side. And rest the forehead on the back of the pillowed hands underneath the forehead. Give yourself at least 2 to 3 breath cycles to just let the shoulders relax. See if they're tenting upwards, if they're activating upwards. See if you can just let them release downward. And the very last breath will allow us to extend our arms back to the backs of the hands, resting on the mat. Let's go ahead and just allow the knees to bend, arms to be nice and relaxed. See if your shoulders are tented, if they're active. See if they can just act like an anchor and just melt into the mat. As you're resting your face to one side on one cheek, doesn't matter which, give yourself 2 more deep breaths in and out of the nose. Then we're going to lower the feet, lengthening the legs. Press into the chest once more, turn the gaze to the other side. Let the cheek rest gently, and the neck should be in line with the spine. And then let the shoulders relax, bend the knees. Give yourself a good 3 to 5 more breaths here. See if you can just let the chest melt. And in the last few breath cycles here, you're welcome to reach down for your ankles, maybe your shins, maybe just energizing the hands down towards the knees. But if you can just gently rest the hands on the feet, or just lengthen those quads by reaching the knees downward. Gently, not too much activation here. Get an extra stretch, and then release. We'll bring the feet down with your last exhale, pressing into the chest gently so we can turn our face towards the mat. Let's meet on our knees in a tabletop fashion. Now for some of us, we may want to do a reverse push-up, and that's modified to the knees. You can just push up and come into your tabletop. And we're just going to move to our deer position from here. Now deer is just going to be where our hips are off to the side from tabletop, and we're just resting with our right knee. We're resting on your hip, my left hip, your left hip, and then this right leg is going to be pointed back behind you. The left leg is going to be situated at the side of this mat, more along the shin is parallel to the mat, and you're trying to find the hips relaxing towards the mat. But again, both of them may not meet the mat. You might have the right hip a little higher up if you have tight hips, and that's just the way that is. We want to make sure that the toe is pointed back in this right foot, this right leg, the folded leg back behind you. If you have your right foot flexed, you might torque your knee more, so just have it pointing away from the knee. We're lifting up high from that point at the seat where we have the most center. Do your best. Inhaling nice and tall. We're just going to twist slightly until we stop twisting. So that should bring our chest in the same direction as this thigh, as this top shin leg. And once we're feeling that this is not too intense and we're in a good spot, because remember, you can always come out of it a little bit if you find yourself twisting a little too much or going a little too deeply. Find that good spot, and then we can fold. We're getting sort of a twist with the hip opener at the same time. Now here, if I had a bolster, I could show you. If you happen to have a bolster, you could always bring that into play here. If you have a block, the blocks can serve, if they're not a hard cork block or a wooden block, something with a little cushion, can add a little support to the rib cage if you're not able to bring your chest down. But eventually, we're just finding that same situation where we can rest as we twist over to one side, and then we fold and release. So for some of us, we might be supported high by a bolster, set of blocks, maybe by our arm, and eventually, we're just going to fold to our natural state, and then we hold it from there. For some of us, once we've gotten to that sweet spot, just that micro adjustment of even turning the head, the gaze, or the palm position might help us to finish out this pose. So give yourself another couple of breaths just to find that very last spot. And from there, we are breathing 5 deep breath cycles. If they tend to be short, they're more like 3 to 5 seconds long. Try to give yourself 10 breath cycles. And this longer hold, it just takes time for the body to override certain defense mechanisms and reflexes. That's why sometimes you might find the body seizing up or just getting very firm, activated, tightening up, in other words. And then once it finds that it's not too overextended, then it can relax just a little bit. And allow yourself to release and go in just a little deeper. And as your practice develops, as you become more connected to the inner teacher, then there's a good synergy between what you would naturally feel and that which is going on without your knowledge. So you become more in tune with the body. and suddenly, at the very last few breaths, you may find release of a muscle you didn't even realize you were holding. All right, so as we're approaching our very last breaths on this side, to come out, and we'll go ahead, wherever our hands are having contact with the mat, we'll just go ahead and press into that to help lift the head if it's supported. Start bringing the hands towards the hips, towards the body, so you can lift the torso. And we want that nice long, energized length. Moving away any props, hopefully nearby, so we can set up to the other side. We're nice and long and energized as we begin to twist back to center. Now all we're doing is just hopefully getting a nice massage to the glutes as we return to both sits bones. And you can extend through the legs and kind of, give yourself a reset. You can tap out the knees, lengthen through the heels, feel that rock of the pelvic bowl as we usually do to feel that center of gravity once more. And then we're going to move to the other side. I'm going to turn to this side now so we have a better picture. But we're nearing Shavasana time too. So this will be our last side. As we move into deer on the other side, be aware of how you're feeling. One side can be considerably tighter than the other. So what we're looking for in deer, once more, is for that side that you're twisting towards. It's now my right side. My right hip is down, my right thigh, and the right shin is parallel to the side of the mat. The left leg is folded. The left foot is pointing behind me, away from the knee, and is not flipped out to the side. I don't want to torque my left knee. So as I'm here and trying to find some even distribution of weight with the sits bones, because I am tight in the hips, I do feel that lift in that other hip. So don't be surprised. Just give yourself some time to find that foundation here. It's about 3 to 5 breaths to just find that nice spot. And then with that last breath, we inhale nice and long. We're bringing the twist to the other side until we finally find that edge that it stops naturally. You may be more towards the right side. You may be perpendicular to your right thigh. You may be more towards the center, towards the left of the inner right thigh. It just depends on your practice. But once you find that spot, go ahead and fold into your twist on this side. And explore that. Maybe you need some blocks. Maybe you need that bolster. Maybe you just need the help of gravity. But eventually, we're just bringing the torso downward, trying to keep as much of the left hip in connection. But as we get lower in our deer, we are going to lift up more with this opposite hip. Just try to use the breath and see about feeling that stretch. And again, as you get down to your final destination, making your minor modifications, adjustments. Maybe it's the gaze. Maybe it's how you soften your gaze. Maybe it's the resting point of your gaze. Maybe it's the position of your palm. But tune into the body, how it's responding, and finding that lengthening, the stretching and releasing of the left side of the rib cage. If your arm is extended to the right side, the left arm will be getting that good deep stretch, and even that nuanced movement of the elbow will help you find that deeper stretch. See if you can use your Ujjayi breath to help facilitate the release. With the inhale, energy enters the body. Blood is circulating, hopefully within its constraint of this pose or any other pose. And then it just, on the exhale, releases tension, toxins, anything found in that journey, in that exploration. And thereby, tuning in with your inner teacher, that inner healing that the body is quite capable of. As you approach your very last breaths on this side, you can start to bring support, weight with the hands. Start to walk the head, the torso back up, right? Bring the hands closer to the body. And as you come back to your foundation, inhale deeply once more, lengthening through the torso. And as you energize upwards, return to center on the exhale. Go ahead and lean over as we untuck the left leg. We're going to be moving into a guided meditation as part of our final resting, our final Shavasana. So here, it's a pretty lengthy guided meditation, so get comfortable. Where are my glasses? You'll be hopefully supported on the back. If you have lower back issues, having a folded blanket, something like this underneath the lower lumbar area. If you have several blankets, you can always just double up like this and have the entire, maybe 2 folded blankets here, and have this supporting not just your lower back, but maybe that space between the neck as well. Play with that. We'll be in Shavasana for a little lengthier time than usual, so you may need to have that support at the back of the neck if you find that. You may need a bolster under the knees if you find that that helps. Eventually, as you're lowering back and you're just comfortable with your knees either supported by a bolster, by blocks, or just maybe feet are a little wider than the hips and you knock your knees inward and just kind of let gravity let you hang out with your knees, your thighs sort of rotated inward. That's one way of helping as well if you have that lower back, if you have these issues where laying flat on your back is uncomfortable. Make these little adjustments and you may find yourself a little more supported and more comfortable. So I'm going to be sitting upwards to mind the time as we move through the meditation. But if you find yourself getting cold, a blanket would help as well. So in Shavasana, the thing is to relax. And I encourage you as we're transitioning from the guided meditation of Yoga Nidra into your Shavasana, just let it be a smooth transition and let the body respond. So into the meditation. As we begin our Yoga Nidra, you don't have to physically move any part of the body. Just as you're laying there on your back, palms facing up, a body part will be called out, and see if you can relax that body part 1% more with just your intention. So slowly close your eyes if they're not closed already. And we will begin. Bringing the mind to the crown of the head. See if you can release the crown of the head 1% more. Bringing your attention to the forehead. See if you can relax the forehead 1% more. Bringing attention to the base of the front of the neck. Relaxing the front of the neck 1% more. Awareness to the right shoulder. Relaxing the right shoulder. Awareness to the right elbow. Right wrist. Right thumb. Right index finger. Right middle finger. Ring finger. Pinky finger. Right hand. Right wrist. Right elbow. Right shoulder. Right arm. Awareness to
to the base of the front of the throat. Awareness to the left shoulder, left elbow, left wrist, left right, left thumb, left index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger, left hand, left wrist, left ankle, left elbow, left shoulder, left arm. Awareness to the base of the throat, center of the chest, right chest, back of the chest, left chest, center of the chest. Awareness to the belly, awareness to the pubis, awareness to the right hip, right knee, right ankle, right big toe, right second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, right foot, right ankle, right knee, right hip, right leg. Awareness to the pubis, to the left hip, left knee, left ankle, left big toe, left second toe, left third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, left foot, left ankle, left knee, left hip, left leg. Awareness to the pubis, to the belly, to the chest, to the base of the throat, center of the forehead, crown of the head. Bring awareness to the right side of the body, left side of the body, and relax your entire body 1% more. For the next 5 minutes, enjoy Shavasana. bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds inside the room, feeling the body rise with each inhale, feeling the belly fall with each exhale. And as you reconnect to your physical vessel once more, make any movements that feel good to reconnect the body and the spirit and breath once more. Wiggle the fingers, toes. You can rock from side to side. Anything to bring the body back into the present. And we'll meet in an upright seated position for a final breath exercise to close out the class. Now, as we're seated in an upright position, as you're coming up from your long Shavasana, take some time. You may need to roll to one side in a fetal position. Just kind of, situate yourself before pushing up on your arm and come back up to an easy seated position. You can hug in your knees and rock and roll while on the back, using that momentum to come back up to an easy seated position upright. Staff or one leg out in front of the other. Getting comfortable. We're going to bring a little breath of fire to us, and unlike what we've done before, where it's a little faster and we've taken that inner energy and kind of like pressure cooked it inside of 2 points in our belly, we're going to go with a slower version of this Kapala body breathing, where it just allows us to really feel that energy slowly building back, balancing out, bringing some energy to the entire experience of our practice today. So go ahead and come on up. We're going to have one deep cleansing breath, and I encourage you to breathe as if you're drawing energy from the root center where you're sitting all the way up the spine through the crown of the head. Just draw it nice and deep all the way up there. Hold it. Let it simmer a little bit through the upper chambers where your diaphragm is, and then exhale slowly through pursed lips. So we're going to go through that motion of the exhale, but it's going to be more of an exhale focus than it is the inhale focus, but at a slower pace than we're usually used to. So we'll just go through 5 rounds just so that you get a feel for that, and then we'll do 2 more extra sets. So inhaling deeply here, once more, holding it, and then letting it out through pursed lips and teeth. It really engaged the core at the bottom of the exhale. Hold it for a second. Inhale briefly. Exhale, breathe it out again through pursed lips. Holding the core. Once more, inhale. Exhale deeply. It's like your belly is a bellow and you're pushing the air out with the exhale. Inhale once more. Exhale deeply. One last 5th number here. Inhale deeply, exhale. And then let the breath return to a natural state. And then we're going to do that 2 more sets. So once more, inhaling deeply. Exhale through pursed lips. Let the breath return to its natural state. You may feel a little lightheaded. Give yourself a couple of breaths, and then one last set. Inhaling. Exhale. Last. Hold it. Empty out everything. Hold it. And then release. And let everything just relax. Hopefully your belly is soft. You're feeling just a little, maybe a little lightheaded. Should feel a little energized. Bringing hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining me here at the ACC Community Room for Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.